Okay, let's talk about Nils Höglander of the Vancouver Canucks. In case you've been living under a rock recently, Nils Höglander was Vancouver's second-round selection in the 2019 NHL draft, and it was pretty clear that getting him in the second round of the draft was a steal on day one. He was an offensively skilled dynamo who did show some defensive issues, but a ton of traits that I would be willing to bet on. So he was a really fascinating case study for me to look at in this NHL Rookie Report as he got his feet wet in the NHL this season. And to be perfectly honest, what I found surprised even my own expectations of what to think of Nils Hoglander going into the NHL. And from the surface level, his data isn't overwhelmingly positive. He had a 45.5% dangerous shot attempt percentage through 2 games. He was only completing 37.5% of his passes. And for a dangerous offensive scoring winger, he only registered 4 dangerous shot attempts off his own stick and 2 dangerous pass attempts as well. His transition data going both directions also was a little bit underwhelming, but really this is an interesting case where relative to a player like Alexander Romanov, you need to look deeper than just the data to see what Hoglander's been doing so well so far in the NHL season, and there also has been things that he might do a little bit better as he gets more experienced and a little bit more comfortable on NHL ice. So the 2 games I looked at were January 16th against the Calgary Flames and February 1st against the Montreal Canadiens. Now these teams are pretty strong in the North Division this season, but I did want to see how Hoglander translated to the NHL against some bigger and heavier teams in the NHL, such as the Calgary Flames and the Montreal Canadiens. So the first clip we're going to look at is about 5 minutes into the first period in the game against Calgary. It was blatantly obvious to me that Nils Hoglander, when he was draft eligible, showed a lot of quickness on his edges as well as with his hands, and that's how he managed to open space for himself and open space with the puck. He spins off Nikita Nesterov using that quick agility, and while he does whiff on the puck here, the more often he does things like this, the more often he should be rewarded for it. And this was a really good example of him just using his quickness to his advantage to beat a defender and potentially get himself a scoring chance. He didn't get the shot attempt off here, but like I said, the more often he does this, the more success he'll get. The next clip is a great example of how I will just never ever have time for the argument that small players can't be effective defensively. Nils Hoglander did show some defensive weaknesses when he was draft eligible, but again, the fundamental tools that he showed when he was draft eligible should translate to being at least competent defensively. And on this play, there's a defensive zone retrieval that Hoglander is largely going to be responsible for. He's got Tyler Myers supporting him, as well as Quinn Hughes supporting him as well for outlet passes. The guy closing in on him here is Dylan Dubé, who from every time I've seen him play for the Calgary Flames this year, is another high-energy winger who can apply significant pressure on forechecks like this. So Hoglander should know that he's in for a little bit of a puck battle here, and for a 5'9" winger, traditional thinking might think he's at a disadvantage. But he gets low to the ice, puts his stick between Dylan Dubé's stick and the puck, and just makes enough trouble for Dubé that Hoglander is able to free the puck up in his own zone. When Hoglander identifies a passing option here, he does not hesitate and fires that puck high in the defensive zone to the recipient. Hoglander then wastes no time jumping right into an offensive rush to quarterback a rush into the offensive zone. I think at this point Hoglander was a little bit out of gas and just didn't have the energy to really attack the left wing here on this offensive rush, but it would be nice for him to at least get the pass attempt he missed here to a teammate somewhere on the ice. But this is the first clip of many where Hoglander, a player who comes with the reputation of being more offensive and a little bit more lackadaisical defensively, shows that that reputation is not really legitimate when he's playing at the NHL level. He has come a long way since he was draft eligible, but a lot of that progress comes out of building off of the fundamental tools he showed when he was draft eligible. Now on the next clip, based on what I just said, I can't also say that Nils Hoglander is a player who will win every physical battle that he ever enters. Having size is an asset, and being able to throw your weight around certainly helps. And Elias Lindholm is not a small player himself. And in this situation, this is just Hoglander getting beaten by a bigger player. And this is something that will happen, at least for the time being, before Hoglander can get more confident and more experienced against these players to use just that extra little bit of strength to try to win these puck battles battles more often than he did. Honestly, a lot of playing defense in my experience watching hockey isn't necessarily how physical you are, but just how good you are at removing the puck from the opponent one way or another, especially in the defensive zone, and getting it out of your defensive zone. And in this clip, Höglander is back-checking deep in the defensive zone. There's a loose puck that's entering the corner, and once again, Dylan Dubé is bearing down on Nils Höglander in the corner here. Dubé certainly is a physical threat, but Höglander does something really brilliant here. He puts himself between the puck and Dubé and does what many people would call a reverse check, just taking his body and throwing himself butt first into the player forechecking against him to give him valuable fractions of a second to get at that puck and move it out of danger. Now, he does cause a little bit of a ruckus here, and Calgary does end up with possession here, but Höglander again shows tremendous work ethic. He doesn't give up on the play, he doesn't leave to try to jump into an offensive rush that just doesn't exist yet. He remains deep in the offensive zone, supporting the puck battle, ready to capture that loose puck if it does pop out. This is another example where Höglander's mind and thought process is all in the right place, but whether it's strength or a natural lack of size just limits him in some way, he still shows a really strong work ethic, and if he's going to have a long career in the National Hockey League, this is the kind of stuff that you're going to need to see more of, even if it isn't as effective as maybe someone a little bit bigger than him. Now, going to about the end of the second period, Nils Höglander shows that anyone who says that he does not backcheck is not watching the same games that I am watching. Höglander does backcheck deep in his own zone and puts in the work necessary to at least cover a zone of the ice effectively. You've got Brock Boeser way out at the blue line, likely waiting for a potential breakout, and Elias Lindholm recognizes the open space in the middle of the ice. But when Lindholm gets the puck on his stick, it's very unlikely that Höglander's going to close this gap, but he does jump into the shooting lane and get himself a shot block in this situation. And we all know how much NHL coaches and everyone in hockey loves to see blocked shots. And this is a small, skilled winger jumping right into a shooting lane immediately to block a shot. The next clip I wanted to highlight is really impressive to me. Nils Höglander is in a net front battle against Rasmus Andersson, who is one of my favorite underrated defensemen in the National Hockey League. He is in this battle for net front position with Andersson and does seem to be at least getting in the way of these shooting lanes, potentially making a screen for Jacob Markstrom. And while he doesn't quite get there, Quinn Hughes' shot goes around the back of the net, and Höglander doesn't really waste any time, breaks free from Rasmus Andersson's pressure, and creates a clear passing option for when Brock Boeser gets to that loose puck in the corner. And this was the first situation where Nils Höglander goes into a puck battle situation and I go, he's not going to maintain possession of the puck. There's no way he's getting out of this. And half a second later, he ends up with the puck on his stick and moving it to a line mate. He somehow manages to get his foot in the way of Rasmus Andersson's clearing attempt, gets the puck right on his stick, and unfortunately fires a pass directly into Elias Pettersson's feet. And again, this is a situation where it didn't necessarily go Höglander's way, but he's doing a lot of things that should lead to positive results down the line. That pass, a few inches here or there, could land on Elias Pettersson's stick, and when a puck is on Elias Pettersson's stick, pretty much anything can happen. But the work rate in the offensive zone, battling for position in front of the net, trying to make screens for defensemen shooting the puck on net, breaking free from that pressure to apply pressure behind the net and maintain puck control, and winning puck battles where I just have no idea how he did it. These are all things that should lead to positive results over time. So I found it really promising to see Nils Höglander showing all these positive traits so early in his NHL career. Now, one thing I would highlight about the overall data that I tracked is that his defensive controlled zone transition percentage was suboptimal at over 60%. But one thing I would say as a caveat here with Nils Höglander is that he was applying pressure constantly in these situations. I wanted to highlight this clip because technically Höglander is involved in a controlled defensive zone transition out of the offensive zone. But the pressure he applies here to Andrew Mangiapane makes his life difficult enough that the best option for him is to put the puck back in his own zone to reset his offense. If he has an extra second or two here to make a read of the ice and spot some other players on the ice or generate some speed himself to start a carry, there might be a dangerous offensive offensive rush here, but this pressure allows the Vancouver Canucks to regroup and potentially apply pressure to the Calgary Flames in their own end. So especially with wingers, this is why I'm looking for pressure all over the ice. You're going to need to apply yourself at all times in the NHL, especially playing along the boards as a winger or a defender. So in the next clip, I did want to highlight something that I've noticed with small players that can be something that limits their success in the National Hockey League. Luckily, Hoglander here is doing what I think should be done more with small players if they want to find offensive success in the NHL. Being very cognizant of where the puck is relative to your body, especially when you're facing pressure from large NHL defensemen, can really make the difference between getting a shot attempt off, getting a pass attempt off that's clean to a line mate, or being engaged in a puck battle that you might lose as a smaller player against a bigger player. Hoglander's got a nice head of steam, blowing into the offensive zone with control of the puck. Juuso Valimaki is bearing down on him, and Juuso Valimaki is a much bigger player than Nils Hoglander. But what Hoglander does is he leans his body in the direction of Juuso Valimaki's pressure, ready to physically try to fight off Valimaki if need be, but it's really important to note what Hoglander does with the puck here to also protect it from Juuso Valimaki's influence. As Juuso Valimaki reaches in with the stick, Hoglander pulls the puck inside towards the midline of his body to keep the puck well away from that stick from Valimaki. As Hoglander uses his speed to drive behind the net with a lot of strength and resiliency on the puck, he leaves Valimaki behind to give himself some valuable space to work with. And Hoglander's able to be very cognizant of where the puck is relative to Valimaki's stick and gets a pass attempt off to defuse the pressure that Valimaki is applying. So while Hoglander did nothing in this situation outside of get a low danger shot attempt off and a real basic pass to get the puck to the blue line, this is a lot of what you need to see out of smaller players if they want to counteract physical pressure from bigger players. Being aware of how you're positioning your body to protect the puck, as well as where you're positioning your hands and the end of your stick to make sure that that puck is protected as well in front of you, can really allow you to use your speed and agility to maintain offensive zone pressure, even if all you get out of this is a pass attempt and a low danger shot attempt. I thought these were really nice instincts from Hoglander that really translate to the NHL well. One thing I'm looking for in draft eligible prospects, especially scoring offensive players, is not just standing around waiting for the puck to come to them in the offensive zone, but constantly being aware of where the opponent is located and constantly putting yourself where the opponent is not. That gives you valuable time with the puck if the puck does end up on your stick to make a play or try to make something happen beyond that. And in this situation, Hoglander cuts right into the front of the net, identifying valuable space in between multiple Calgary Flames defenders, and the shot from Tyler Myers is intercepted by Hoglander in a dangerous area, and he has enough space and time to make a play here. Nikita Nesterov and Juuso Valimaki are busy with their own Vancouver Canucks in front of the net, and there's enough of a gap between Hoglander and Michael Backlund that by the time Michael Backlund gets in the way of Nils Hoglander's shot attempt, Hoglander's shot is already off. And while Michael Backlund uses his stick to close that gap and block Nils Hoglander's medium danger shot attempt here, it's still another one of these things that the more often you do it, the more success you should have. And with Nils Hoglander, if that shot gets off a split second quicker or is an inch to the left and gets between Backlund's skates and his stick, this could have been a goal for the Vancouver Canucks. So again, if you can get yourself to dangerous areas and have space to work with, you're going to be rewarded for that effort. And being quick and agile on your edges are assets that certainly help scoring forwards get into these positions. So again, the more often I see Hoglander doing stuff like this, the more often I think he's going to end up with points on his scoreboard. I hope you've noticed that you're sensing a little bit of a pattern here with the clips that I'm highlighting for Nils Hoglander this far. We're not even through the first game yet, and this is what, the 7th or 8th example of Nils Hoglander just working really hard and getting rewarded for it. Here, he applies just enough pressure to Andrew Mangiapane and in quick enough fashion that Mangiapane is removed from play, and Hoglander's skill and agility all come to the surface here to defuse that pressure and get the puck out to the blue line to maintain offensive zone pressure. And this kind of ability to get his stick on the puck in tight spaces and escape that pressure well was a trademark when he was draft eligible. He doesn't have the puck on his stick for more than a quarter of a second in this entire clip, but his ability to get the stick on the puck and escape pressure is really on display here. So he's really showing a high-end ability to use the skill to his advantage, not just to score points, but to help enable further offensive zone pressure. So for skilled wingers to dive into board battles and not be afraid of who they're going into those board battles with, and just focusing on getting the puck off of that player and into the hands of a teammate is a reliable offensive instinct that should lead to further offensive production for Höglander down the road. The next clip I wanted to look at is a bit of a long one, but it's one that I thought really stood out because the fun part of Höglander's game came out briefly here in this game. Ideally, as Höglander enters the offensive zone here, I would have liked a pass attempt instead of being in front of him, being sent to Travis Hamonic up the middle of the ice here. But that's something where I think in the video room you can just say, hey, there might be a line mate here more often than you'd think, rather than just giving the puck up to the Calgary Flames here at the blue line. But his work rate in the offensive zone shows itself once again. He maintains positional pressure on the puck here, intercepts a pass attempt, and then just goes to work. There's some beautiful skill here on display, trying to navigate the puck around Nikita Nesterov and get a dangerous shot attempt off. He knows how to attack with speed and skill and agility, and he's just so much fun to watch. So bringing this kind of an aspect to his overall game in all areas of the ice is largely what I'm trying to highlight in this video, and he's done it very well. But this clip is also just a lot of fun because he gets to go all dangly on Nikita Nesterov. So that's it for game one, and we're gonna jump right into game two against the Montreal Canadiens. And one thing I alluded to very briefly in the previous clip against the Calgary Flames was that Nils Hoglander can take a little bit too long to really make a smart, dangerous passing option here. And in this situation, Hoglander gains possession of the puck in the offensive zone against the Montreal Canadiens with tons of space to work with. He calmly waits to see a play present itself, but waits a little bit too long. Bo Horvat gets himself open in the middle of the ice here with just about enough space to make a play. But Hoglander, instead of trying to connect on a pass to Bo Horvat in the middle of the ice, takes a low danger shot attempt from out near the blue line. And ideally, I don't really want players in this situation just lobbing pucks on net if they don't have to. This was just a brief situation where he didn't have to, so hopefully he's able to spot those line mates in dangerous positions quicker and just go out and execute simple plays like that. The next clip is one where he again is rewarded for his hard work. The puck's coming around the boards here, and Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Bo Horvat go into a puck battle. Kotkaniemi gets his stick on the puck and tries to send a pass attempt back to the defenseman supporting him. And Ben Chiarot is not really moving his feet super well to get to that loose puck before Nils Hoglander, who's closing the gap behind him through, again, that trademark hard work that you're seeing. Ben Chiarot is not a small player. Nils Hoglander is. So what does Nils Hoglander do? He uses his speed and quickness to put himself between the puck and a much slower moving object in Ben Chiarot, and before you know it, Hoglander gets a stick on the puck and ships that puck out to Bo Horvat immediately. But this is another example of Hoglander using high-end traits to catch larger players sleeping and just maintaining pressure in the offensive zone. And speaking of fighting off players bigger than him, I've been told many times that Shea Weber is one of the most fearsome players in the National Hockey League. Well, I'm watching Nils Hoglander here fighting off Shea Weber deep in the offensive zone against the Montreal Canadiens. Hoglander's got one hand on his stick, and he's also trying to fight off Shea Weber. This is very early in his NHL career, and Shea Weber is a seasoned veteran with a heck of a reputation. Not only does he create valuable fractions of a second where he has some space to play with against Shea Weber, but he maintains that space to drive the puck along the boards, cuts back quickly, and then he's just home free, leaving Shea Weber behind. It might be nice to see Hoglander just pass the puck back into the corner with some support here, as he does end up turning the puck over to the Canadiens. But this is another clip that shows that Nils Hoglander seems to be a fearless hockey player. He does not care who he has to fight off for control of the puck. This is Shea Weber, and he just made Shea Weber look a little bit silly for a bit here. The next clip really shows how Hoglander uses quickness and agility in the defensive end to just fetch loose pucks and start breakouts. It also highlights a little bit of tunnel vision with Hoglander when he is on these breakout scenarios where he's pretty much primarily thinking in a straight line. There are multiple passing options here available for him if he does do a shoulder check over his left shoulder here. He's got Bo Horvat and Tanner Pearson relatively open in the defensive zone. Usually you don't want to just be sending passes into the middle of the ice in the defensive zone on breakouts, but you could if there was a pretty clear passing option. On this breakout, he even draws in pressure from Jonathan Drouin. I would think drawing Jonathan Drouin in on this situation would make Bo Horvat even more open to continue the breakout. But the pressure is just a little bit too much for Hoglander in this situation, and he ends up giving up a soft turnover in the neutral zone. I wouldn't say that this is a situation where I would punish Hoglander, but I certainly would sit down with him in the video room and help make him a little bit more cognizant of support on offensive breakouts from line mates. A little backhand pass to Bo Horvat here, and he could have been home free, and the Vancouver Canucks could have had a nice little breakout here. The next clip I just wanted to highlight because the first rookie report of the year was on Alexander Romanov. And one thing I've been told about Nils Höglander is that he is small, and that's a big reason why he fell in the draft, and a big reason why everyone seems to love Alexander Romanov is just how good he is defensively. But here's Nils Höglander just brushing off Alexander Romanov to win possession of the puck. Romanov even has the puck on his stick, but Höglander with one hand, again, manages to use his body to leverage body positioning, get his stick on the puck, and strip it right off of Alexander Romanov without really batting an eye. And again, he manages to get a pass off to a line mate deep in the offensive zone. In my tracking work, all this would really be is just a pass attempt, but this is more video evidence that there is a lot more to Nils Höglander's game than just dangling pucks and lacrosse goals from behind the net and making hockey men angry because of how much fun he is. This is potentially a really talented two-way player that gains those talents from the skill and skating and offensive ability that he had at a younger age. And again, the more often he does these things, the more often he should be rewarded on the score sheet. Now, Nils Höglander isn't necessarily the fastest NHL skater in a straight line, but he keeps up with Ben Sherratt on this play pretty well, trying to retrieve a puck deep in the offensive end. And while he goes into a 50-50 puck battle where if he was a little bit quicker, he might have been able to win cleanly, this is about the 40th example we've been over where he just doesn't give up on the play. He battles hard, fights hard, and ends up giving the Vancouver Canucks possession of the puck here. Now, just before we get to the end of the video, I wanted to pull another clip of Nils Höglander, who again, if you don't know, is small, going up against NHL defensemen who are big and come with a reputation of being mean and nasty and physical and really eat players like Nils Höglander for breakfast. But here comes Nils Höglander against Joel Edmundson, and Joel Edmundson does what I highlighted in Slater Cuckoo in the Alexander Romanov video, where to him playing defense isn't about removing the puck from the player. He focuses far too much on Nils Höglander's body and removing his body from play, but Höglander is small and he's too quick for that. Even though Höglander ends up pushed right up face first against the boards, he's not pushed up against the boards face first for very long, spins off the pressure from Joel Edmundson, leaving him behind and continuing possession of the puck in the offensive zone. If he was getting removed from play more often than he was, I would have highlighted these instances, but it was not happening as often as you'd think. This is another one of those situations where I'm going, he's not going to maintain possession, and this was especially an example of that, but there he is escaping heavy pressure from a big, heavy player from a big, heavy team, and he's going against a lot of people's expectations of what small players can and can't do on the ice in the NHL. So if there's any smaller hockey players watching, this is a really good example of the fact that it just does not matter if you get the job done. So with Höglander, there's a lot of examples that I would highlight in the video room where I could just go, do more of this. Keep working hard and you're going to get rewarded for it, because it was on display in both of these games, and I think that's something that you positively want to reinforce. And the last clip I want to look at for this video is just an example of the better decision making that I've been alluding to recently, especially on offensive breakouts. Quinn Hughes gets a pass to him, and he's basically the quarterback of this rush from the get-go. And a quick pass attempt to Elias Pettersson creates a strong offensive breakout, and while Pettersson blows a tire and loses control of the puck entering the offensive zone, Nils Höglander recognized the pressure he was facing here, recognized his outlet option to Elias Pettersson, and just managed to maintain offensive pressure. This is another situation where I might show him clips from earlier in this game where he gets closed out with pressure exiting the defensive zone, and showing him this clip where there's an easy passing option available directly to his side that he can recognize and execute on quickly. So, looking at the tape, what did we learn from Nils Höglander in this video? The first thing I have learned is that Nils Höglander has completely changed his game year over year since being draft eligible. He did show some defensive instincts that needed to come a ways before he was going to be a successful NHL player. But he also showed some tremendously high-end instincts offensively, especially with regards to his agility, his quickness on his edges, and his skill with the puck that should translate to at least some level of NHL career. He showed a high work rate in the offensive zone when he was draft eligible, but not often enough when he was in the defensive zone. But when I see players in the NHL draft who do come with that profile, and there are quite a few, it seems like people look through the lens of what they're capable of now rather than projecting what they're capable of at their best at all areas of the ice. And what I saw out of Nils Höglander was a resilient, dependable, intelligent two-way player with some significant offensive potential. He's not going to win every puck battle he goes into, but he plays with a fearlessness that I did not expect. I did not expect to see him fighting off players like Ben Sherratt, Shea Weber, Joel Edmondson, or Juuso Välimäki, going toe-to-toe with Rasmus Andersson, and winning a lot more battles than he lost. The amount of times that he went into a situation and I expected him to lose possession of the puck and he didn't was far greater than I expected. And I certainly went in expecting to see the more fun offensive side of his game more often, but I think this is a situation where that will come out more and more over time as long as he continues with the habits that he's built and he displayed in these 2 games. So I'm really hopeful for Nils Höglander's future. I think there's been a really interesting transition of his game from when he was draft eligible to now. He's learning how to use his high-end talents to his best advantage all over the ice, which is something that all skilled forwards are going to need to be at least competent at in the NHL. So while his data might not jump off the page to me or you or most people, I still think that what was found in the tape is really, really promising for Höglander, even though the results might not be there just yet. So that's all for this NHL Rookie Report. Thank you for watching. If you really liked it, you could click all the buttons you see below me so you never miss another one. If you really liked it, you could subscribe on Patreon or here on YouTube by clicking join below. You'll get access to a Discord server, data sheets for hundreds of drafted and undrafted NHL prospects, data visualizations exclusive to patrons, early access to videos, and plenty of other goodies. Or you could pick up some merchandise from the Scouchwear shop, where 50% of all profits go to the Women's Sports Foundation. So that's all, and catch me in the next one, where we're going to look at Tim Stützle of the Ottawa Senators, so get ready for that one.